We have Logan Campbell, WFMY-TV sports reporter, who covers the Demon Deacons. Logan, thank you very much for taking the time to jump on the phone with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you. The first thing I'll ask is, how surprised were you yesterday when the news kind of was revealed that Clawson was resigning?
It honestly was a little bit surprising, but, following this team for the past year, you would kind of hear how Dave would talk about NIL and how frustrated that sometimes he would get with it. And then when you think about it, you take a step back, you're like, okay, signs were kind of there. That being said, though, I wasn't really fully expecting it to happen this year. And clearly players, coaching staff, even former players were a little bit surprised once they saw the news that Dave was leaving.
So did, obviously that reasoning in the NIL, so much, anytime a coach who's been around for a long time resigns or retires, everybody immediately goes to that, right? They didn't want to deal with NIL. They didn't like dealing with the transfer portal. Do you think that was the main reasoning behind Dave Clawson deciding to resign?
100%. He talked about it a lot today in his resignation press conference. He essentially said, the game isn't what it used to be. And he said college football is in a bad place. And he said, hopefully one day they'll be able to figure it out, but this isn't the game that he wants to coach in. And he said that on top of wanting to spend more time with his family are his two driving factors into his decision to step aside. He said, my whole heart isn't in it. He said, last year I was debating on stepping away, but he said he was really excited about the recruiting class coming in, and he was hopeful that he was going to have that at the end of this season, but he said it just didn't happen. So that's when he knew, okay, it's time to hang it up.
Logan Campbell, WFMY sports reporter, Greensboro, joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. Well, that I like. Obviously, you are just reporting on what he said, but that is a pretty downtrodden and kind of that's going to put a real bummer on a lot of people that are fans of college football. So with Clawson obviously being one of, if not the most successful coach in Wake Forest history, and he's talking about college football is not in a great place, and that's participating in the reasoning on why he's resigning. Was there like a solemn feeling around the facility after this presser where Wake Forest now doesn't have a leader and their old leader is kind of talking about doom and gloom?
It's kind of funny because I didn't get a sense of people being really sad or worried at all. It was more celebratory. And, I don't think Dave was supposed to tell us this, but he said that they have been looking for a head coach for 10 days. So they've known for 10 days that this was going to happen. It was just announced yesterday. It just got out yesterday. So they've already been searching. Dave Clawson said, he said, I don't want to speak for John Curry, but this process is farther along than the media thinks. And he said, don't be surprised if you hear about a new head coach hire within the week.
Within the week?
I think, within the week is what he said. Granted, I don't know if he knows what's happening. He said he's not in the process of hiring a head coach, but you would think that the former head coach has a pretty good idea where they're at in the process.
Well, that brings up the next question. He's resigning as the head coach, but he is still remaining on in some kind of advisor capacity. Did he talk about what his role within the Demon Deacons will be, especially if he said that he's not going to be in the meetings deciding who's the next coaches?
No. He said him and John both said that they are trying to figure out what this role is going to be. Dave said that he didn't really want it to have anything to do with the football team. He said that he wanted to give them their space, not be in the day-to-day stuff with the coaching staff and the players, and just really try and separate this new job from football. They said that they're still trying to figure out what exactly this job is going to be. And he said he's going to take the next few days to just kind of stick to himself, to his family, to his friends, and just breathe for a little bit.
Logan Campbell, WFMY sports reporter, Greensboro, covers Wake Forest, joining us on the Heister Automotive Group hotline. Do you have any ideas on who they will be targeting, or are there any buzzworthy names that we should be looking into and deciding who we want?
That's a great question, and I've been asked that question a few times. I genuinely have zero idea. I haven't really seen a lot of names get thrown around yet. For a lot of us, this did kind of catch us off guard. So our minds weren't even thinking in the direction of okay, like these are some candidates we do think. I think Army's head coach has been thrown around in pretty much every head coach search this year, so maybe him. But then, he brings up how NIL is a huge part of the game. He doesn't have any NIL experience, so I genuinely have no idea. What I do think, though, is that it's going to be someone outside of the program. I don't think it's going to be an internal hire.
The timing of it, right, being after the portal already opens up, so many other head coaching jobs already filled, does kind of put Wake Forest in a weird spot. John Curry, the athletic director, did you get the sense that the urgency or like the sense for the moment was one that he understood, because every day that passes is another day where the portal is sending players all across the country?
I think that the media is kind of like, oh my gosh, they're in this weird state of limbo, but I wasn't getting the sense that they felt like that. I feel like they are close to making a decision if they haven't already made one yet. Especially if Dave and John Curry, the athletic director, were having meetings for the last 2 weeks saying, this is what I want to do, this is what I do. And John said, okay, do you mind if we start vetting for other head coaches 10 days ago? I would think that they have their idea of who they want to be the new leader of the program. So, John was trying to do some damage control with Dave saying, oh, like they're pretty close, they're far along. But me personally and everyone else, like we don't think that they're in a rush mode, but we also have no idea who it could be.
It's if they've already been looking for 10 days, first of all, credit to everybody at Wake Forest for the secret keeping ability, because it seems like that kind of stuff gets out to the media very, very fast, or social media at least, very, very fast these days.
Well, and that's the thing that was very interesting, is because I talked to some people on the coaching staff, and they were all shocked when they saw the tweets last night or yesterday saying that Dave was gone. They had no idea. Players didn't know. Former players didn't know. So the higher-ups at Wake Forest kept this very tight-knit, which is really impressive, because a lot of times that's not how it ends up. So for all we know, yes, they've been working very diligently behind the scenes.
Last question for you, Logan, and thank you again for taking the time. You mentioned that the presser kind of had a celebratory feel, like everybody obviously giving the flowers to Dave Clawson that are rightfully deserved. Can you sum up kind of in a minute or less the Dave Clawson's legacy as head coach at Wake Forest?
Oh, I think what Dave really embodied was, community. Like he really brought everyone together in Winston-Salem. He brought a lot of joy to everyone that he talked to, and he just really wanted to be a part of the community. I just started working here in April, and I would go shoot a high school football game, and he would come up and we talk for 20 minutes, and that's just the kind of person he is. He is a people person. He loved to make everyone feel important. I think he did that with not only the football players, but the coaches on his staff. And, he took the team to 7 consecutive bowl games. He was able to take the team to the 2021 ACC title game. Like, he has a great legacy in Winston-Salem, and I think it's going to be hard to follow up with that. And he said, give the next head coach grace, because you guys gave me grace, and look how it ended up. So that's what he said. He said, just give the next coach grace, and everything will work out just fine.
Logan, we appreciate you for taking the time, and let's do this again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.